trio of genius criminals outsmarted the FBI. With nothing but stopwatches and sheer audacity, they managed to rob banks across North America, accumulating over $15 million in stolen cash. But here's the craziest part. Using precision-timed stopwatches, they pulled off their heists and vanished in less than 90 seconds, leaving no trace behind. So how did they execute these lightning-fast robberies without getting caught? And what eventually happened to them? Join us to uncover the untold story of the Stopwatch Gang, the most daring bank robbers you've never heard of. They stole millions and disappeared without a trace, until now. Buckle up, because you won't believe the audacious methods they used to pull off some of the biggest heists in history. 90 seconds. There's a lot that can be done in this time frame, but robbing a bank in such a limited duration seems far-fetched. But it wasn't for the infamous Stopwatch Gang. The name itself might sound like something from a heist movie, but it's not fiction. It's real. The Stopwatch Gang included 3 Canadians: Paddy Mitchell, Lionel Wright, and Reid. These guys were infamous in the 1970s and 1980s for their perfectly timed bank robberies and used stopwatches during the heist, helping keep the malicious operations on schedule. Paddy Mitchell was a charismatic leader with a knack for charm. Lionel Wright was a meticulous planner and strategist who always focused on the details. Reid was the muscle of the group, the X factor, call him that if you will, who added a layer of unpredictability to each heist the group pulled. Together, they formed a team that could pull off robberies in under 2 minutes. They were in and out before anyone could even process what was happening. Reid was one of 9 siblings who grew up in Massey, Ontario. For those who don't know, it's a small rural town located at the junction of the Spanish and Aux Sables rivers. His father was a hard-working man and drank like people in Ontario's do. He did his best to provide for the family, but money was tight. Reid got into drugs at the age of 13. By the age of 17, he had got into crystal meth, possessed firearms, and had robbed his first bank. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but managed to escape and later met Paddy Mitchell. Mitchell was one of 7 children born to a working-class Catholic family. He grew up on Preston Street, which was a rough neighborhood in Ottawa. He was always into petty crime as a kid and developed a reputation as a fighter, and at the age of 14, was convicted of assault. He was sentenced to a juvenile detention facility, but when he got out, he continued on the path of crime again. Their third partner, Wright, was someone who lived with his mom. He wasn't a smoker, not a drinker, and spent most of his nights reading about ancient history or watching television. Both Wright and Mitchell met at one of Mitchell's delivery locations from when he was working as a truck driver. Wright worked at a warehouse, and that is where their criminal activities began. For a few years, Wright continued stealing things from the warehouse, altering the paperwork, and handing them over to Mitchell so they could be sold on the black market. The group continued to steal, and their loot increased from boxes to trailers. Heists pulled off by the Stopwatch Gang weren't ones that were violent or aggressive. Instead, they were known for their politeness and calm demeanor during their heists. What was the distinctive factor? Their precision and their style. It's hard to imagine bank robbers being described as polite, but that's exactly what they were. They'd often greet employees with a smile, and when it was all over, they'd vanish without a trace. After their daring escape, the Stopwatch Gang found themselves in the sunny climes of Florida, where they reunited with Lionel Wright, their third partner in crime. But their thirst for adventure and wealth was far from quenched. With Wright back in the fold, they embarked on a spree of meticulously planned bank heists crisscrossing the country from San Diego to Sedona, Arizona. Their most lucrative endeavor came in September 1980 with the Bank of America heist in San Diego. The haul was staggering, clocking in at a jaw-dropping $283,000, a sum that would translate to roughly $1 million in today's dollars. It was a testament to their cunning and audacity, cementing their status as masterminds of the criminal underworld. However, their downfall came not from the police, but from within their own ranks. Enter Donnie Hollingsworth, a former Ottawa Rough Riders halfback turned criminal associate. Known as Big John, Hollingsworth had been instrumental in the gang's operations, supplying them with weapons and aiding in the fencing of stolen goods, including the gold from the airport heist. But Hollingsworth's involvement took a dark turn when he became embroiled in a crystal methamphetamine operation outside San Diego. A witness stumbled upon him disposing of the body of a man who had met his demise, sampling their illicit wares. With bail set at a hefty $80,000, Hollingsworth turned to Reid for assistance, promising to repay the debt with interest within 60 days. However, faced with the looming threat of incarceration, Hollingsworth made a deal with the FBI, offering up the Stopwatch Gang in exchange for leniency. It was a betrayal of the highest order, and one that serves as a stark reminder of the treacherous nature of their criminal underworld. The revelation of Hollingsworth's betrayal sent shockwaves through the gang, shattering the bonds of trust that had held them together through thick and thin. As the FBI closed in, Reid, Mitchell, and Wright found themselves facing their most formidable adversary yet, the crumbling grip of the law enforcement agencies, a grip which was aided by one of their own. Their reputation grew quickly, not just in Canada, but also in the United States. They became known as legends of the criminal world, due to their daring escapes like the time they broke out of prison in Ottawa and vanished into the United States, where they continued their heists. They were like ghosts, appearing, robbing, and disappearing before anyone could catch them. It was a game of cat and mouse, but they always seemed to be one step ahead. Although their criminal career eventually came to an end, the legacy of the Stopwatch Gang lives on. They've inspired books, documentaries, and even a few Hollywood scripts. People are drawn to their story because it feels like a heist movie coming to life with all the drama, suspense, and unexpected twists you'd expect. It's a reminder that sometimes real life can be just as threatening as fiction. In the world of heists, few events capture the imagination, quite like the Stopwatch Gang's 1974 gold heist at the Ottawa airport. This daring operation became a defining moment for the group, setting the tone for their infamous criminal career. It was a perfect blend of planning audacity and flawless execution, a classic caper that would make Hollywood directors envious. Ottawa's Uplands Airport, now known as MacDonald-Cartier International Airport, was a bustling hub in 1974. It was a place where travelers came and went, but it was also a gateway for valuable cargo, including gold. This was long before the era of high-tech security systems and advanced surveillance, which made it an ideal target for a group like the Stopwatch Gang. The airport was handling a shipment of gold as part of a regular transfer when the Stopwatch Gang saw their opportunity. Paddy Mitchell, Lionel Wright, and Reid carefully orchestrated the heist, each playing a specific role in the operation. It wasn't just about grabbing the gold, it was about doing it with precision and minimal risk. On the day of the heist, the Stopwatch Gang moved with remarkable precision. They had already scoped out the airport, studying the routines and identifying the weak spots in security. This meticulous planning was a hallmark of their style, and it paid off in spades. Dressed in work uniforms to blend in, the gang approached the cargo area with confidence. It was as if they belonged there, which helped them avoid suspicion. On April 14, 1974, around midnight, a phone in the special cargo warehouse rang. The voice on the other end asked the guard, "Has my man arrived there yet?" Soon after, there's a knock on the door, and in comes Reid, posing as an Air Canada employee. He cuffed the guard to the gate and began inquiring about the key that opened the cases. After failing to do so, he used a few tools to break open the lock. He puts the loot on a cart and makes his way to Wright, who's waiting for him in a getaway car. It's 20 minutes, and the Stopwatch Gang has done their trick. Once they had the gold, the Stopwatch Gang vanished into the night, leaving behind a scene of shock and confusion. Airport personnel and law enforcement were left scratching their heads, trying to piece together what had happened. It was a clean getaway with no violence or unnecessary drama, just a seamless disappearance. The gang's ability to escape without a trace was legendary. They had a network of safe houses and connections that allowed them to lay low until the heat died down. This heist demonstrated their expertise in both planning and execution, solidifying their reputation as master criminals. News of the heist spread quickly, capturing headlines across Canada and beyond. The sheer audacity of the crime, combined with the sheer amount of gold stolen, made it a sensation. The Stopwatch Gang became a household name, and their story fascinated the public. It was a tale of skill, nerve, and a touch of glamour. Everything you'd expect from a blockbuster heist. The 1974 gold heist at the Ottawa airport remains one of the most memorable moments in heist history. It was a daring operation that showcased their unique approach and served as a testament to the gang's malicious capabilities. The 1980s were a wild time for the Stopwatch Gang. After their daring exploits in Canada, they set their sights on the sunny shores of California, where the bustling coast provided a perfect cover for their bank robberies. The California coast, known for its laid-back vibe, was also a prime location for large financial institutions. For the gang, it was a playground for their criminal ambitions. The Stopwatch Gang carried out a large number of bank robberies along the California coast during this period, always with the same level of precision and timing that had earned them their name. They were fast, efficient, and remarkably low-key for a group pulling off major heists. Their approach was simple: get in, get the money, and get out before anyone knew what hit them. Each heist followed a similar pattern. The gang would enter the bank keeping their cool and avoiding unnecessary violence. They were always polite, never creating chaos, which made them stand out from other criminals of the time. They moved quickly, ensuring they were in and out in a matter of minutes, just like their earlier heists in Canada. Among their numerous bank robberies, one stood out above the rest: the heist at a Bank of America branch in San Diego on September 23, 1980. This was the Stopwatch Gang's biggest heist, setting a record in San Diego history with a haul of $283,000. It was a daring operation that showcased the gang's meticulous planning and bold execution. On that day, the gang entered the bank with their usual calm demeanor. They knew exactly what they were doing and where to go to get the money. The stopwatch was ticking as they moved through the bank, grabbing as much cash as they could carry. It was a smooth operation, and within a matter of minutes, they were gone, leaving behind stunned bank employees and a major mess for law enforcement to untangle. The San Diego heist was a turning point for the Stopwatch Gang. It catapulted them into the national spotlight, with news reports and law enforcement agencies scrambling to catch them. The sheer amount of money they stole made headlines, and the gang's reputation grew even more formidable. Despite the increased attention, the Stopwatch Gang continued to elude capture for a while longer, thanks to their careful planning and knack for disappearing without a trace. Their success in California only added to their mystique, making them legends in the criminal underworld. In the end, the Stopwatch Gang's California crime spree was one for the history books. Their biggest heist at the Bank of America in San Diego remains an infamous moment showcasing the efficiency and precision that made them one of the most intriguing criminal groups of the 20th century. The Stopwatch Gang's California crime spree in the early 1980s had made them notorious, but their luck was about to run out. The group's high-profile bank robberies drew significant attention from law enforcement, particularly the FBI, leading to a nationwide manhunt. By October 1980, the heat was intense, and the FBI was closing in. It was the beginning of the end for this infamous trio. After their record-setting heist at the Bank of America in San Diego, the Stopwatch Gang needed a safe place to rest. They found refuge in the serene beauty of Sedona, Arizona, known for its striking red rock formations and peaceful landscapes. It was a perfect hideout far from the bustling cities and curious eyes. Lionel Wright and Reid set up a hideout in forest houses in Oak Creek Canyon, nestled near Slide Rock State Park. The dense forests and rugged terrain provided ample cover for the fugitives. Meanwhile, Paddy Mitchell, the gang's leader, rented a house about 3 miles north, maintaining a safe distance while staying close enough to coordinate with his partners. Despite their careful planning and remote location, the Stopwatch Gang couldn't escape the FBI's relentless pursuit. On October 31, 1980, Halloween night, FBI agents moved in on the gang's hideout near Slide Rock State Park. The FBI had gathered enough information to pinpoint their location, and it was time to bring them in. The arrest was swift and unexpected. Wright and Reid were apprehended without incident, their hideout in forest houses proving not as secure as they had hoped. The calm surroundings of Sedona were suddenly disrupted by the arrival of law enforcement, signaling the end of the road for the Stopwatch Gang, or at least for 2/3 of it. While Wright and Reid were taken into custody, Paddy Mitchell managed to evade capture. His rented house, located 3 miles north of his partner's hideout, allowed him to escape the FBI's initial sweep. However, his freedom wouldn't last long. The FBI continued their search, keeping Mitchell in their sights. 2 years later, Paddy Mitchell's luck ran out. The FBI caught up with him, bringing the saga of the Stopwatch Gang to a close. His capture marked the end of a remarkable chapter in the history of Canadian and American crime, where a group of smart and audacious bank robbers had managed to elude law enforcement for years. The arrest of Wright, Reid, and eventually, Mitchell signaled the end of the Stopwatch Gang's crime spree. Their capture in Sedona became a pivotal moment, illustrating that even the most meticulous criminals can't stay ahead of the law forever. The gang's legacy, however, would live on in the stories, books, and documentaries that followed, capturing the imagination of those fascinated by tales of daring heists and the inevitable chase that followed. The aftermath of their daring exploits saw the members of the Stopwatch Gang scattered across prison yards and continents, each facing their own reckoning. Paddy Mitchell and Lionel Wright, sentenced to 17 years each for trafficking, found themselves behind bars, with Mitchell tacking on an extra 3 years for possession of the stolen gold. Meanwhile, Stephen Reid, who had relocated to the United States after their audacious airport robbery, eventually returned to Kingston, where his loose lips led to his arrest. Facing a sentence of 10 years for armed robbery, Reid also had to serve the time he still owed from previous brushes with the law. Wright, however, took a different route, staging a dramatic escape from the Ottawa Carleton Detention Center and fleeing south to the sunny shores of Florida, leaving Canadian authorities scratching their heads. Inside the walls of Millhaven Institution, Reid and Mitchell found themselves navigating the complex dynamics of prison life. With a stroke of strategic brilliance, Reid enrolled in hairstyling classes, recognizing the potential to earn favor with the authorities. His gamble paid off when he was transferred to the medium-security Joyceville Institution in 1978, setting the stage for his next move. Mitchell, following Reid's lead, demonstrated exemplary behavior, earning himself a transfer to Joyceville 6 months later. But it was Reid who orchestrated the most audacious escape yet. In August 1979, during a seemingly routine day trip to a hair salon in Kingston, with just one guard in tow, Reid seized the opportunity. While dining at a restaurant, he vanished through a bathroom window, disappearing into the urban landscape once again. 3 months later, Reid orchestrated Mitchell's escape from a hospital where he was taken after feigning a heart attack. Disguised as medical professionals, Reid and an accomplice stormed the scene, brandishing a revolver and swiftly overpowering the guards. With Mitchell in tow, they made their getaway, leaving a trail of chaos in their wake. Their escape was a testament to Reid's cunning and audacity, cementing the Stopwatch Gang's status as legendary outlaws in the annals of criminal history. The story of the Stopwatch Gang didn't end with their arrest and imprisonment. In fact, their tale became the stuff of legend, inspiring numerous television documentaries and books that recounted their daring heists and audacious escapes. Paddy Mitchell, the leader of the gang, was at the heart of this storytelling, even writing his own autobiography from prison. As the years passed, the Stopwatch Gang's legacy grew, cementing their place in the annals of crime history. Several television documentaries have chronicled the Stopwatch Gang's escapades, each shedding light on the remarkable precision and audacity with which they carried out their crimes. These documentaries delved into the gang's operations, exploring the heists, the planning, and the eventual capture of the members. They captured the public's fascination with the gang's unique style and their ability to evade capture for so long. Books also played a significant role in documenting the gang's story. Among them, Paddy Mitchell's autobiography, This Bank Robber's Life, stands out. Written from prison, this book offers a rare glimpse into the mind of a career criminal, detailing Mitchell's life, his journey into crime, and the events that led to his arrest. It's a raw and honest account that provides a deeper understanding of the man behind the myth. Paddy Mitchell's life took a dramatic turn when he was diagnosed with lung cancer in 2006. This diagnosis came during his time in prison, where he had been serving a lengthy sentence for his crimes with the Stopwatch Gang. Despite his criminal past, the news of his illness brought a sense of vulnerability to the man who had once led a notorious gang. As his health deteriorated, Mitchell was moved to the Federal Medical Center in Butner, North Carolina, where he received medical care for his condition. The once charismatic leader of the Stopwatch Gang spent his final days in the prison hospital, reflecting on a life that had seen both high-stakes heists and the harsh realities of incarceration. On January 14, 2007, Paddy Mitchell passed away at the age of 64. His death marked the end of an era, but his legacy lived on through the stories, books, and documentaries that continue to capture the imagination of those intrigued by his life of crime. Mitchell's passing was a poignant moment, reminding us that even the most infamous figures are not immune to the fragility of life. The Stopwatch Gang story remains a captivating tale of crime camaraderie and, ultimately, consequence. The documentaries and books that recount their adventures continue to draw audiences, offering a glimpse into a world where timing and precision were everything. Paddy Mitchell's autobiography, written from the confines of prison, serves as a testament to the complexities of a life defined by crime and the introspection that can come with time behind bars. Though the gang's exploits are now part of history, their story continues to resonate, reminding us that even the most legendary criminals eventually face the final chapter of their journey. Back in early 2014, Reid got released from the William Head Institution, moving on to day parole to finish up his time behind bars. He had a bit more freedom, but had to be back at the halfway house by 10 p.m. Reid settled into this old mansion overlooking the Strait of Juan de Fuca, where he'd spend his downtime making drums, a skill he picked up from some fellow inmates. These days, he's all about family time, helping out with his stepdaughter's twins, and taking his mother-in-law to run errands. Every now and then, he gets permission to head to Vancouver to work on his play, but most of the time, he's in Victoria trying to piece together a new life while grappling with reminders of his past. Looking back on his old bank robbing days, Reid admitted to a string of mistakes that led to his downfall. He even joked about what he could have done differently, like hiring a decoy to throw off the cops during his getaways. But despite the slip-ups, Reid's grateful for the chance to turn things around. Reid set the record straight, saying the reality wasn't always as glamorous as people thought. Sure, they had some wild times, but Reid wants folks to know they weren't the harmless bandits Tom make them out to be. They were ready to use force if needed, though thankfully it never came to that. In the end, Reid's all about keeping it real. He's done with the romanticized versions of his past and ready to own up to the good, the bad, and the downright crazy parts of it all. In the end, the Stopwatch Gang's tale is one of high-stakes daring escapades and ultimate betrayal. Their journey from audacious bank heists to a betrayal within their own ranks serves as a cautionary tale of the fleeting nature of trust and the consequences of a life lived on the wrong side of the law. Despite their ingenuity and cunning, they were ultimately brought down by the very alliances they thought they could trust. As they faced the consequences of their actions, their legacy became a reminder of the price one pays for chasing the thrill of the forbidden. Like the story of the Stopwatch Gang. Join us for more intriguing stories. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.